So my final one is The Spin by Messa.
Yes.
This is out on Metal Blade.
I like Metal Blade.
Weirdly, I feel like I've seen the cover of this album floating around for years.
I've seen a couple of albums that have very similar covers. In fact, I think Cult of Luna did an album that had a very similar cover.
Do you know what it is?
What is it?
And this isn't research. This is something I actually knew. It's an Ouroboros.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a serpent eating its own tail.
Yes, and I think Cult of Luna did a similar thing, although I now might be completely wrong.
I'm not sure. I mean, they step out the gates here, dressed in their finest black 80s goth clothes.
Which I wasn't expecting.
I was not expecting it either. Not at all.
Not at all.
I mean, I got serious hints of Sisters of Mercy when I first put this on.
Yeah, I got that. The Mission as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't want that to be the first thing people hear and think, well, this is a system. I'm going to skip this review because, my God, it develops throughout the whole thing. The way this album ends is so far removed from how it starts.
It is. And also, I would say that although we're saying the Mission, Sisters of Mercy, bands like that, it's only the feel of it. It's not.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like dated 80s kind of dark wave, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they've got, there's moments of kind of Floyd progginess in this.
Yeah.
One band that I really did see a few similarities to is their contemporaries, Green Lung.
Oh, I didn't pick that up. That's interesting.
I got quite a lot of similarities to Green Lung.
Yes, I totally 100% get that.
And I love Green Lung. I know you aren't completely sold on the vocalist of Green Lung, which is fine because that's vocals.
Yeah, I'm not completely, but I'm also not sold on female vocalists, and I absolutely loved this lady's voice.
I mean, she has a pair of fucking lungs on her.
She really does.
Wow. I know that you wrote down a very similar thing. I wrote down Florence and the Machine instantly. First thing I thought was...
She does have that sound, and I also, to kind of go further than that, not the only two, but two vocalists, if you're going into that powerful female range that I can really enjoy, Florence and the Machine is one of them, and Alicia Keys is the other one.
Do you know, when I was going through my vinyl, well, I say my vinyl, me and my wife's vinyl the other day, I told Christiane you said that, and we pulled out an Alicia Keys. Well, I think it was a hip-hop album with Alicia Keys on it. She went, does Jaff want that? I'm sure he would.
But Alicia Keys has got that.
Oh, she's got pipes. Yeah. My God, yeah.
I'm not saying I like her music particularly, but she, as a female voice, I really like it.
Which is fun, because do you know what? I'm not massive on really powerful female vocalists, generally.
Well, I don't think I am, but I like this one.
Well, to be fair, the two you stated do have really powerful vocals. I'm more kind of, I like the wistful, whispered vocals, but I loved her vocals on this.
I thought they were amazing.
And the guitarist as well is so good.
He feels like, it's not him, but he plays a bit like the guy out of Unto Others.
Yes.
I really picked that up in places.
He does. I also wrote down that he plays quite similar to Paradise Lost.
Yeah.
It's got that same kind of, it's gothic.
It's gothic rock. It is.
But he also has a way of just dropping in these really 80s riffs.
He not only riffs at the end of the Void Meridian, which I think it might be the first track.
Maybe.
I'm sure it is. He at the end, he plays a guitar solo that's one of the most Steve Vai things I've ever heard.
I know.
I was like, they got Steve Vai on it.
It's so that is the standout thing from this album is they can interchange between genres.
Yeah.
And not just, they don't do it in a way that, oh, it's like a little influence of this genre. They fucking swap genres.
Yeah, they do. Especially later on.
No bones about doing it. They're like,
I agree.
Okay, so you're listening to Doom. Oh, now you're listening to jazz.
Yeah.
And there is a full-on jazz quartet. It's not a jazz quartet, but there's trumpets, there's saxophones, there's... I wasn't planning on getting to that at this point. However, I will. It's called The Dress. And
you're already on The Dress.
I'm getting to The Dress just because I've already mentioned it.
Okay.
It's one of the most impressively constructed songs I can remember for a while.
Yeah.
In the sense of they can get from A to B.
Yeah.
But they go through every other letter of the fucking alphabet in between.
Yeah.
Seamlessly.
More the Moth came to my mind again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I guess
Especially being called The Dress. It was kind of the same.
yeah. But again, we said the same thing about More Than Moth, the way that she can
Yeah.
change songs throughout.
Yeah.
It's mad.
Yeah, it is.
It's absolutely, it is so unexpected because it starts off almost like a ballad.
Yeah.
It's kind of,
But Immolation signals it's coming.
yes, because Immolation is a proper
changes.
ballad.
Well, it is. And that's probably, for me, got the most Florence and the Machine vibes about it.
Yeah, so when I was...
So we moved from Susie and the Banshees into Florence and the Machine.
So
and
funnily
then,
enough, Immolation, I wrote down, oh, this is a jazz song. I can see this being played at Ronnie Scott's while people drink martinis.
yeah.
Little did I know what was coming up.
No, it totally changes.
Because
And it's fascinating.
the end of the Immolation,
Yeah.
it goes into a goth rock doom proggy intro.
Yeah.
So you kind of like, okay, that was just a weird jazz interlude.
Yeah.
And then halfway through, there's a fully fledged jazz song
Yeah. Yeah.
that comes in. And then it comes out of that section and and I don't mean this in a bad way, but there's new metal guitars. There's a new metal guitar line coming out the back of that
Yeah. Yeah.
that works. And
Yeah.
if you wrote that down on paper,
It wouldn't work.
it'd be bloody awful.
But everything's very understated as well. That's the thing. Nothing's trying to be too big in it.
Yeah. And that, again,
They build it.
You said the Steve Vai guitar solo. There's one of them at the end of this track as well.
He does keep chucking them
He
in.
does.
The bloke clearly likes to play his guitar.
It is fascinating as a piece of music, this album, specifically that song, which is the one I'm going to add.
The Dress.
Yeah, the dress.
Yeah, yeah.
But as an album, it is fascinating because being able to get from point A to point Z
Yeah.
and incorporate all this other stuff
I agree.
that's so wildly different.
But it's not only they're incorporating, they do all of it really well.
Yeah, and it's
I mean, it doesn't sound rubbish. It
No.
sounds really good.
and it doesn't. Although you kind of your head does turn and you do go, well, that's a bit weird. It's still not. It's not at a point where you're like, well, that doesn't work.
Well,
It does work perfectly.
Okay, a classic example is you talked about The Dress, which does everything it does.
I know exactly where you're going.
Oh, sorry, am I?
No. Carry on. I want to know if you are.
Because I was going to say, then it finishes and bloody C6 Steve turns up.
Blue slide guitar at the start of Reveal, which
I
is
know.
just mad.
And I'm like, where did that come from? Because we earlier on we were doing Susie and the Banshees and bloody Unto Others.
Yeah.
And then now we're on C6 Steve.
It's. I'll be honest. It's not an easy listen.
No.
I wouldn't say this album. It does involve a certain amount of your brain power and thought and thinking and.
But it does flow.
It does. Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I mean, I don't want people to think it's jarring because it's not.
No, it's not. It's
Because that
done.
C6 Steve thing goes into some sort of thrash section, which still works. You're like, well, it's the same riff, but of course that's a thrash riff.
And that's what I mean when I go back to saying it's one of the most well constructed.
Yeah, it is.
Out there albums that I've heard for a long time because it is astonishingly clever.
Yeah.
God knows how long it took them to put these songs in the right order and mix them.
No, I mean, it's so well written.
Yeah, it's mad.
I mean, I think it's exceptional. I think it works on a level where it's fascinating. I'm not sure emotionally.
No.
And that's not a criticism, but what I'm trying to explain is, so something like Blood Abscission, which is a totally different genre, I put on and I'm just immersed in it. This, I was just fascinated by what the hell they were doing.
It makes you think all the way through.
Yeah.
Like it's a thing. So my kind of summing up statement I wrote was these guys have made a record. It follows no rules. It crosses every genre under the sun, and it still remains a brilliantly well put together album.
And I think
that's kind of my statement
I think that is absolutely 100% nailed on. I think it's very clever. It's intelligent music.
It is. And we say that quite a lot, but this really is intelligent music.
Yeah.
Because there's no way they just wrote a bunch of tunes and strung them together.
No, you're right. This is the kid in the class years ago when you were at school where you all thought you got a good grade, and then there's that one fucker who's hyper intelligent.
Who hasn't paid any attention. He's been like scribbling on desks,
just nailed it,
and throwing pencils at people. But
this is that album. That's what they'd come up with.
I wanted to mention as well the choice to end the album on the only extreme vocals on the entire record. There's no extreme vocals except the very, very end.
I picked that up.
It's almost like they're saying, well, we've done all this and we've done it pretty well.
Yeah.
but we've still got this in our toolkit.
Yeah.
So keep an eye on us because we might just blow your socks off next time.
I mean, yeah, and they're not really a Metal Blade band, but clearly
No,
Metal
not
Blade
at
has
all.
seen something in them. That,
Again, this is probably more of a pelagic or
I agree.
yeah.
I agree. And the last song, I mean, Thicker Blood, you said about it the way it finishes, but it's got a real post. That's the most post song on the
definitely,
album.
yeah.
And it sounds like Elder in places.
Yes,
With all
it
that
does.
kind of weird, slightly stonerish,
Yeah.
meandering passages.
Everyone should go out and listen to this.
We've
because
probably named about 34 genres in this album.
it's just I can't get my head around how well written the whole thing is.
Yeah. And I think okay, another thing I'm going to say, and we're not going to like rave about it, but albums
I think we already are.
Well, I think we are, but albums like that, you should be having to listen to them a few times to understand them. But I actually got this the first time I listened to
That
it.
is a really interesting point.
Yeah.
Because I totally get
And I've
that
only
as well.
just thought of it. But I did get when you said I'm doing Messa and I thought, I haven't listened to it, I put it on and you said, oh, by the way, keep going with it because it changes.
And I think
I
sent
totally
to you,
got it.
And again, this was the first time I listened to it. I said, wait till you get to the dress because it will blow your mind.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I'd listened to it. So I was clearly already invested in it.
Or your mind had already blown up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it is a clever album. All credit to him.
Yeah. Weirdly, I wrote down that I was going to add the track Fire on the Roof, but I can't remember what that track was like.
Well, I wrote, it sounds weirdly got a real Fleetwood Mac vibe to it. So that was the one that old Stevie Nicks appears in.
Yes. But then, I backtracked and said The Dress.
Yeah.
Just because
It's that most interesting. I just think, I think it's extremely clever. And I do like the fact we got it first time. I think the only thing I would say is old Steve Vai does pop up a little bit too often in it. And it's not that he pops up too often, but when he appears, he likes to keep going. And you can tell they're trying to just say, come on, Steve.
Come on, Steve, we need to get back to our
Italian Steve.
jazz.
Stevie-O. Just pull it back a bit here, fella.
We've got some jazz to
He
go on with.
really doesn't half labour a solo in a good way.
He's bloody good, though.
He is good, but they don't half go on a while. But
do.
that's not a criticism because it's all part of it. But
No, and it's just I as a musician, I can't begin to understand.
I can't play
you,
solos like that.
Well, of course, absolutely not. But I can't understand how you. And I like to think that I'm fairly. I absorb genres, and I'm fairly
I think you're
creative.
quite an accomplished musician, Bryn. Just
But
for the purposes of
I can't imagine going in to a studio and going, well, we're gonna do all of this. And doing that in a coherent way. And that's what impresses me the most about this.
Okay, that's an interesting point. Do you know what I'd say on that? Is this one person, male or female, obviously, or
No, this has to be a collaborative thing.
I don't know, somebody just... Because occasionally also, if somebody has a brilliant mind, they could come up with, we need to do this at this point. You have the right...
serious ADHD who just can't keep attention.
I mean, you have the right musicians who can come in as, I need a guitar solo, and they go, yeah, I can just whack one in for you. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know anything about them.
It's brilliant.
But I don't know how you'd stand there and write it from scratch because you just would struggle.
No. But you also couldn't write those songs as independent
you couldn't.
songs.
No.
Anyway, yes. Well, we could talk for hours about how confusing
I think the
this
spin
is
is
but in
well
such a
worth
brilliant way.
spinning.
Yes. It's absolutely worth spinning.
Worth a spin.
Tasting Notes with Bryn and Jaff.